Okay, so I'm thinking Bramaya, right? Amayan, Brimai. What's it giving? Let's talk about it.
Roxiie says we're gonna talk about it.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxiie with Roxiie Says, and we're gonna talk about it today. We are reviewing Love Island USA Season 7, Episode 28. This episode was a filler episode. Okay, let's just be honest. It was a filler episode, but we got some things to discuss nonetheless. So let's get right into it. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you're made aware every time I post. Double check to see if you're still subscribed. Sometimes YouTube does unsubscribe people, and we are on our way to 45K. So thank you all so much for helping us get there. All right, so let's get right into this. We got the X's on the faces of the people who ain't here. All right, so this episode was definitely a palate cleanse. It was pretty chill. All right, so as y'all know, 5 Islanders have been dumped and everyone is reflecting. We see Iris venting to Sierra, Alandria, and Shelly about how much she already misses TJ and she does not want to redo this process all over again. And I said, we'll see how long that sentiment lasts for. Okay, this is Love Island after all. So she says that she's really torn up, and Shelly reassures her that they'll be there for her. And I'm like, okay, that's cute, girl, but she gonna need to partner with somebody and she's gonna need to do it quickly. So we see Clark and Taylor, they're discussing being put last for everything. And Taylor says that he hates that Clark is being affected because she's with him. And Clark says that she feels like shit, and Taylor apologizes for that. And I said, oh, look at that. Not only does he, like her physically, he also cares about her feelings, and he feels responsible for the way that she's feeling now. I thought that was really cute. So Clark says that it's not his fault, but Taylor acknowledges that it is because he put both her and Alandria in a tough situation. Taylor knows that the way that he went about this Alandria thing was completely wrong. He knows that he led her on and he shouldn't have done that. He knows that he should have been upfront in the beginning, okay? But they both thank God in America because on the bright side, at least Clark was not in the bottom 3. And I said, period. I think I did misspeak in my last video, and I thought that Clark was voted in the bottom 3. She wasn't. My bad, okay? Y'all still need to boost that up though, because Clark ain't do nothing to nobody, all right? So he tells her how happy he is to be there with her, and they're just sitting there. They're caressing each other. They're looking into each other's eyes. Real cute, okay? Now all y'all need to do is get that kissing together. Once y'all get that kissing together, y'all might have something, okay? Y'all keep this up the way that y'all were and get the kissing together. Y'all gonna be okay. All right. Y'all not gonna win, I don't think, but y'all gonna be all right. So next we see Shelly and Ace. They're discussing the shock of being in the bottom 3 individually and as a couple, especially on the categories of being genuine and trustworthy. And Ace says that the biggest thing for him was to make sure that Shelly didn't look at him any differently. But Ace also says, look, I don't feel any type of way about it because I know who I am. And Shelly, you shouldn't feel any way about it either because you know who you are at the end of the day. We see Ace give her his jacket because she's cold. And Shelly tells him, well, I think that you are great boyfriend material. And when you think about it, right, as far as the guys in the villa, as far as showing effort, including the breadcrumbing that Ace does here and there, performative or not, Ace is the one in the villa who tries the most to be creative when coming up with things to do to make the ladies feel special. So he kind of should have been number 1 in that sense, okay? But it was nice to see that both Shelly and Ace were supporting each other during this time as opposed to turning on each other the way that Huda and Jeremiah did, okay? Because after America voted, Huda and Jeremiah were like, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? It's you. No, it's you, child. A mess, all right? So we see Iris is still crying over TJ, and she says, oh man, now my bed is gonna be cold again. And Huda tells her, girl, you could sleep in bed with me. And Nick says, oh yeah, you can sleep in bed with Sierra and I bet she can, Nick, because you and Sierra, yeah, okay. So next we see Chris advising Leon on how, Leon, who the hell is Leon? Elon, child, Lord have mercy, not Elon, but he's telling Elon to pursue Iris if and when she's open. And Elon says, look, he doesn't think that she would have even stayed if there wasn't a chance at her having another connection. And I say, yeah, but not with you, baby. It's not you, but we'll get there. And Chris says, well, if I was feeling someone that much, I would just leave. And I was like, oh, production, did y'all leave that in there for a reason? Is this something that we're going to have to come back to? I guess we will see in the future. And I know that we haven't seen Chris do a lot as far as the guys, but I do see him becoming like the ace Ace of the Casa Boys, like the leader of the pack. He just gives that energy. Just a thought, all right? So Zach says that Amaya and Alandria are the top two girls that he's exploring, and we see him in his confessional, and he's like, Amaya is just such a genuine girl, and I definitely understand why America picked her for that category because she wears her heart on her sleeve, you know? And right now, we're just going through a rocky moment in our relationship, you know, just a rough patch. All couples go through their ups and downs. Nothing to see here. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Okay, he didn't say all of that, but that's what it's giving. He was really trying to talk to America and let us know that him and Amaya are okay. They're just going through a tough time. Boy, no. No, don't try to do damage control now. We're not buying it. We're not eating it. We don't want it, all right? I'm so sorry. I was cracking up through his entire confessional. Every single time that Zach was on the screen showing out this episode, I was cracking up because we know that it's fake, all right? I didn't believe a damn word that he said in this entire episode. So next we see everyone, they're getting ready for bed, and Alandria is telling Iris that she feels a way about one of her best friends standing behind Taylor. Iris is like, who? She was like, Sierra. And she says that she feels like it was a dagger through her heart. And Iris is like, oh yeah. Iris was like, oh, because I know Iris is probably thinking, girl, you kiss Nick. Who cares? Who cares that she stood behind Taylor? You kiss Nick, because remember, Iris was not going for that at all. So we see Sierra, she comes into the makeup room and she immediately apologizes to Alandria if her vote for Taylor made her feel uncomfortable, but she does say that the biggest part of her decision was Nick, and she also feels like Alandria would have been devastated if Taylor actually left. That's what Sierra is saying, but I feel like a bigger part of that, way bigger than just her wanting to support Nick, is the fact that Alandria and Nick made out. Even though Sierra said that she's cool with it, I think that this was just her passive aggressive way of sticking it to Alandria, okay? But we don't see Alandria respond, so I guess we'll get a conversation with them later if she's even still on the show. I'm surprised that she even was in this episode, okay? So next we see the Casa Boys saying that they were most surprised by America's votes for Ace and Shelly, and now they're wondering what is it that we're not seeing that America has been seeing. So Shelly tells Huda that she doesn't get it, and she actually doesn't care to get it. And I said, Shelly, you better care. You better care, girl, all right? So we see Alandria calling Amaya America's sweetheart, which she is. Child, Pepe didn't waste any time snatching up the next blonde in the house. Okay, we see him asking Iris if she wants to sleep with him tonight. And when everyone is asleep, we see Iris and Pepe, they're in the bed and they're just staring at each other. I said, okay, interesting. I see why Pepe curved Andreina so fast. He was like, nope, blondes only. Blondes only for me. That's all Pepe is doing, okay? So it's morning and we see Shelly telling the ladies that she wants to make breakfast for Ace. I said, okay, now Shelly, she wants to show some initiative. We like to see it. You done lost Chris for not really reciprocating. Don't go and lose Ace now, okay? Because all y'all got at this point. So we see the boys did something a little different this morning for breakfast and they made crepes for the ladies. We see Pepe make Iris her plate and give it to her. Shelly has the peppers and the onions going in the pot, and Taylor asks her if and when her and Ace will close off, and she says, I don't know, but I want to, right? And it's obvious at this point that Shelly was just kind of fake exploring with Chris, or at least just wanting Ace to feel like he had some competition so that he would close off, like the same thing that Nick did. But Ace clearly doesn't care, and we're gonna see more of that later, all right? So next we see Pepe and Iris, they're eating their breakfast together, and they bond over their partners both being snatched away from them. They agree that it's not easy, whether it's the 3 days that Iris had with TJ or the 9 days that Pepe had with Hannah. It's still really hard not to get too wrapped up in it when you feel an insane connection with the person that you're with, all right? So next we see Huda. She goes to Chris to eat and her hands are full. She has like the plate in her hand and her coffee or tea in her other hand, and Chris is just sitting there and she has to ask him like, hey, can you take something so I can sit down? And they share a little laugh about it. We see him compliment her and he tells her that he feels a little down because he had a dream last night about basketball, and since it's his passion, it makes him feel like, should I even continue doing this? And Huda tells him, don't think like that. But Chris says, well, realistically, I have to think like that because he says that he's getting up there in age and he wants to get into other things. When he goes overseas, it's for 6 to 9 months straight. So he can't really put the time and effort into things, and it makes him emotional. And he also says that he's trying to hold it in. Of course, Huda tells him it's okay to cry. You can cry in front of me. That's no problem. And she lets him know that she feels the same way about her daughter and being away from her right now, but she has to think of this as like a little little pause, okay? And she also encourages him to pursue multiple things at the same time and just do what he loves because life is unpredictable. Now, I really, really liked this chat. Chris was vulnerable. Huda listened. She was supportive. She was encouraging. It was a really good chat. And Chris, all jokes aside, even though they pull your stats, if you want to keep playing ball, baby, you do it for as long as you can. Go take your ball and play, okay? Don't put any restrictions on your dream. So Huda tells him that she wants to keep her head up because being broke with a child was very hard for her, and she always had to remember that better days were coming. We see them share a hug. Chris tells us that he really likes Huda and he's starting to see a different side of her. He says that they complement each other and he calms her down when she's emotional or heated. And we already know that Chris likes having someone who he can calm down because he says that he usually attracts emotionally unstable women, okay? Which is part of the reason why I said Chris is not the one to play with, and he will go back and forth with you. He will. If he is used to being with someone who is emotionally unstable, those relationships usually come with a lot of that, okay? He gonna go back and forth. Now, essentially though, from this conversation, what Chris is saying is that he hopes that this works out so that this Love Island experience can turn into other things, just like everyone else here. He's not the only, obviously everyone is hoping that they can get brand deals and sponsorships and grow their following from doing this show. So he's not the only one, but it definitely looks like him coming on Love Island is part of his exit plan or his pivot from basketball, okay? Because he's not training right now. He's not preparing for the next season. He is here on Love Island. Even though he says he can be anywhere else, he's here on Love Island, okay? So next we see Nick and Brian. They're discussing the vote, and Brian says that he stood behind Jaden because the vibe with Andreina just stopped immediately, and he was already feeling Jaden, so it wasn't even a thought to save Andreina. But he also says that he had a really good chat with Amaya, and she has this fire personality and this passion in her, and he relates to it, especially culturally. And Brian said that he liked Dominican girls. Remember, he did say that when he first came in here. Of course, he was going after Andreina, but he found her to be boring. So now you have an eccentric Dominican girl. You will never have a boring moment with Amaya, okay? And I know everyone is going to be scrambling because we're close to the end. We don't know anyone's intentions, but I do feel better with Brian going after Amaya because he was nice to her before they knew how America voted. He was nice to her before he knew that she was America's sweetheart. He stood up to defend her in front of everyone before all of that, okay? As opposed to Zach, who piled on her and then after told her that he didn't even really want to kiss her. But now he just thinks that Amaya is the bee's knees. She is the best thing. No, sir. No, ma'am. All right. So next we see Clark chatting with Amaya. And I was like, yes, I love this. I've never seen them have a little conversation. But Amaya tells her that she doesn't agree with how they voted for Clark. And she knows that it's because of the entire Taylor situation. And Clark says, look, I don't think that I deserve that vote, but someone had to be on the bottom. Not you, baby. Not you. Okay. And Amaya tells her that she hopes that Clark gets the chance for America to see the genuine side of her the same way that they did for Amaya, because Amaya says that she definitely sees that in Clark. And I said, yes, Amaya, speak life into my girl Clark, okay? Y'all don't put her through it. Y'all know how I feel about Clark over here because what? Clark ain't do nothing to nobody, okay? Exactly. So Clark tells Amaya that she's happy to see that she's finally being understood in the way that she deserves to be. So next we see Ace thanking Shelly for the breakfast, and she tells him that she knows that last night was a lot for him as well. So she wants him to know that she appreciates him a lot, and Ace thanks her. They share a hug, and she tells him to just pretend that he likes the food, even if he doesn't, even if it don't taste good. So regarding last night, Shelly says that she feels better and she can rest with the fact that that's not what the Islanders think about them, okay? The Islanders didn't rate them the same way that America did, and she feels like the people who know her personally actually know her true heart. So we see Shelly be straight up with Ace, and she tells him, look, I don't want to explore anymore. I don't want to explore anymore, and that chapter with Chris is closed, and she doesn't want to lose something that makes her happy. And Ace says that he appreciates that. He thanks her and he gives her a kiss. And I said, damn. I said, damn, he didn't say it back. He didn't say, yeah, we can discuss it more. Nothing like that. Nothing at all. So listen, Shelly put herself out there. Okay, she made it very clear. She said what she wanted. If Ace wanted to close it off, he would have. He could have. Okay. Clearly, he doesn't want to close it off. I still feel like Ace is apprehensive about the Chris and Shelly situation. I still feel like he's apprehensive about her even considering someone else, which he shouldn't be because he did it too. But he doesn't want to close it off at this point, apparently, at least not in this episode. So now when people ask y'all, though, why aren't y'all closed off? Don't put it on Shelly. You can say it's on you because she did want to close off. She made that effort at least to have that conversation. And Shelly, if a new bombshell comes in and y'all still are not closed off and they're feeling you, please forget about Ace. please forget about Ace and put some effort into the new bombshell who is feeling you. And another thing, if I were Shelly, I would have definitely gotten some clarity in that conversation. Do you feel the same way? Are you still exploring too? Because baby, if you're still open to exploring, then everything I said, forget it. Forget everything I just said. Forget everything I just said, because I'm not going to be the only one not exploring, all right? Before some bombshells come in and Ace starts messing with them. And then when Shelly asks him about it, he's going to say, yeah, I didn't say that I wanted to stop exploring. You said that you wanted to stop. Y'all know how Ace does, okay? You got to be crystal clear when coming to Ace. So next we see Elon. He gets a text message telling the Islanders to get ready to lose control in today's crashing out challenge. And Amaya says, oh my God, give us a break. We just survived the whole apocalypse. Listen, Amaya, keep that up. Keep that up, because I already know that they're hella sponsors writing scripts with you, saying words incorrectly. Get your money, girl. Get your money. Anyway, we see Sierra and Huda. They're joking about the old crash out Huda coming back for the game. And I said, oh, that's nice that y'all could joke about that. So for this game, we see each boy, they'll pick a partner to go through an obstacle course with. The obstacle course is irrelevant. They're getting slime thrown on them and all this stuff. And then they get to a circle of truth where they have to own up to their latest crash out moment before being pied in the face. And then they go into a ball pit and they pick someone to make out with. Pretty much that's what happens. So Nick partners with Alandria and then he makes out with Sierra. Taylor partners with Ace and he says that he picked him because he helped him plan dates and they held down the bottom 2 spot in last night's vote. Taylor says that he crashed out when he had to twerk for Meg Thee Stallion. This game didn't reveal anything really. People just saying shit. Just dumb stuff, all right? And of course the person who he chose to kiss was Clark and he yells her name. He's like, Clark, and he rips his shirt open. All the theatrics. It was cute. I don't care how y'all feel about it. I don't care. Okay. And this kiss looks a little better. This kiss looked a little better between Taylor and Clark. And I said, yes, y'all have been practicing. Thank you. So next, Ace picks Alandria as his partner. And he says it's because she deserves to have fun today. And he says that he crashed out when Nick left the villa. He makes out with Shelly. She jumps up in his arms, the whole shebang. So next is Zach and he picks Amaya and he says, look, regardless of our ups and downs, there isn't anyone else who I would want to do this with. And I'm like, Zach, shut up. Oh my goodness. Be quiet. All right. We are not believing what you're saying right now. He's doing a lot. He really is. And I was thinking, oh, okay, I guess that means he's going to pull Alandria in for the kiss. But he actually starts making out with Amaya. I said, well, aren't you pulling out all the stops today, Zachary? I see what you're doing again. What happened to the boundaries though? What happened to all of those? And I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'm just petty, but baby, if I was Amaya, I would say, no, this isn't the part of the challenge where we kiss. We have to follow the rules, okay? I don't want to make you uncomfortable because you're not going to tell me that you didn't want to kiss me. And now, because you know that I'm America's favorite, now you want to make out. No. Challenge or not, I don't give a damn. Go find someone else to play with. I wish that Amaya curved him, okay? And he says that he crashed out when Austin left the villa yesterday. And for his kiss, he picks Alandria. I said, yeah, he's working on the both of y'all clearly. And Alandria tells us that that was a smart move for Zach because he knows damn well that he can't get a kiss from her outside of a challenge, okay? But she does admit that the kiss was nice. You might have to entertain Zach, though, Amaya, just to stay in the game because either him or Leon, all right? Because you don't really have many options in this villa, girl. So next, Chris picks Brian as his wingman, and he says that he crashed out when he found out that the Love Island beds were too small. And of course, he makes out with Huda, and it was a good kiss. She's twerking on him, all the things, all right? So next up is Pepe. Pepe's wingman is Taylor, and he says that he picked Taylor because Taylor is the most respectful man there. Pepe says that he crashes out every time someone leaves the villa, and he chooses his bombshell sister Iris to make out with. And child, Iris is twerking on him while they kiss too. And that was cute and all. I know that y'all came here together as bombshells, but Pepe, please don't ever call her your bombshell sister ever again. Don't say that, all right? Anywho, Alandria is in her confessional, and she says, ooh, Pepe definitely has a type. Yeah, girl, clock it. We've been clocked it, okay? And Pepe says that Iris is a badass and she has everything that a man needs. And I said, well, how did you find all that out in how many hours has it been, Pepe? Lord have mercy. So next we see Elon. He picks Sierra as his partner and Nick fakes a smile, but you know he is bothered. Nick is going to be bothered every single time that Elon is in that room, okay? He says that he crashed out when he realized that Nick was still in the villa. So Elon is not only snatching your girl, Nick, but he's also throwing shots, okay? And we see him make out with Iris, and child, Iris tells us that her kiss with Pepe was 100% better than her kiss with Elon. So Elon, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what you're going to do. So we see Brian chose chose Huda as his partner because they were cool since day one. And he says that he never crashes out. He don't know nothing about that. And of course, he makes out with Amaya. And Amaya is just so excited. And she's like, oh my God, Zach, cover your eyes. I said, girl, forget Zach. Forget Zach. Okay. And she says that she rates the kiss with Brian a 10 out of 10. Brian is grabbing on booty and everything. And he says that he plans to pull her for a chat tonight. We see at the end of the game, the ladies vote Ace as the ultimate crash out. And that's it. The boys don't rate. All right. So all is well. Everyone comes back from the challenge in good spirits and they're debriefing. Amaya tells the ladies that she's feeling Brian and he's the best kisser out of all of the guys in the villa so far. Iris tells the ladies that Pepe took her by surprise since her and Pepe never really got to explore each other. But Iris, you're a smart girl. You're a smart girl. You saw Pepe's track record. You knew that you were up next, baby. You knew that you were up next, okay? But she does say that she would be open to it because Pepe is hot, but she still misses TJ. And Brian is telling the guys that he definitely feels something with Amaya. Pepe says that he didn't want to make anything too messy during the challenge, but he does have a good feeling about Iris and she's really cool. So it's nighttime. We see everyone there separating for chats. Zach finally takes Amaya by the hand, okay, and helps her up the stairs so that they can have a chat. Very different from yesterday's energy. Remember when he came up to her yesterday and was like,
yo, you want to talk?
Night and day, a complete 180. And I said, you know what, Zach, we're not playing with you, okay? And it's so funny because after he does that, he said, you always said that I wasn't a gentleman. Look at me now, America. I mean, Amaya, look at me now, America, look at me. Like, that's what it's giving. He's doing it for us. He's not doing it for Amaya, okay? So he brings up the stand on business challenge again because he's still trying to smooth things over for America, all right? And he says that he should have spoken to her in private. And since it was a challenge, he thought, oh, let me bring some heat. Let me bring some heat. But when he saw her cry, he was like, damn, I guess I went too far. So let me get this straight. You thought that it would be a good idea to bring heat like that to the woman who you're partnered with? That's the best that you could come up with. The only way that that would even make sense is if y'all were being judged on how much you can make someone cry, okay? That's the only way that that would make sense. Zach, you were better off saying nothing. Nothing, because now it looks like you're just saying anything. Okay, so Amaya says that no matter how angry she was, there was no excuse for the way that she spoke to Zach, and she says that she's really sorry. And Zach says, you know what? It's cool. Don't worry about it, because I'm the type of guy who likes to put myself in the shoes of others. You know, I'm the type of guy who likes to think about my actions, and that's why I feel so bad about what happened. Because that's the kind of guy I am, America. I mean, Amaya, that's the kind of guy I am. And hand on my heart, I really F with you. I really do. And he tells us that he's happy that they moved on from their past mistakes. And he knows that they're on the right track and they're friends again. So Amaya was holding it together for some time, but then she does start to cry and she says that she feels really bad for calling him those names. She also lets us know that on her end, the romantic part of her connection with Zach has come to an end, but they can still be friends to the fullest because they're mature civilians and they will act accordingly. I said period. I said period. So we see them hug, and then after the hug, Zach makes that same face, that same angry face that he made after their first kiss. But apparently this is his model face. That's what people have been saying. Either way, I'm glad that Amaya peeped game and she is closing off that romantic connection. I wonder if, I mean, he says that they're friends too, but I wonder if he knows like the door is really closed for real on the romantic connection. Like they're not working their way back up to something more. I'm not sure. All right. But he does say that he's happy that they're friends. So next we see Sierra and Nick. They're in soul ties. And child, I'm surprised that she's still here. I'm gonna say it every time she's on this, because it does seem like they're phasing her out. She's definitely in less scenes. So I don't know if eventually they're just gonna get rid of her altogether, but they still haven't plucked her out yet. So they discuss being closed off, and Nick asks her to explain the rules of being closed off, right? So she says, you know, it means that we're only focused on each other. We're only focused on our partner. No one else who walks through the door is a factor. We're not turning heads for anyone. And she also says that that's pretty much the way that it would translate into the real world as well. And Nick says, oh, okay, because yeah, that's where my head is at too, you know, but that's just a question that I had since the picnic, you know, like what does it mean? And apparently they haven't even really had time to spend together since the picnic, which is interesting to me. And honestly, I wish that Sierra had let him tell her what he thought it meant first, because I would have really liked to hear it. Because where is the confusion? Why don't you know that being closed off means that you can't entertain? I feel like that would be the first assumption. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be be any confusion about that. But as we all know, Nick did not want to close off with Sierra. He only did it because Elon was a threat. All right. So next we see Shelly. She pulls Chris for a chat to discuss everything that went down since the challenge. And she also says that she realizes that there was a lot of miscommunication that occurred between them. So she wanted to just clear everything up. So Chris says that he was thinking maybe Shelly's upset with me. Maybe I did too much. So that's why I took a step back. And when he saw her getting comfort from Ace, he figured, well, I guess that's her silent way of choosing Ace without actually letting me know. So I figured that I would focus on Huda. So Shelly tells him that at the time she was still feeling him. Nothing changed, but a lot was going on at once. And she wishes that they could have at least had a conversation about it. But Shelly girl, Chris was showing you that you were his number one choice. He gave you 2 pancakes and a flower. He gave Huda 1 pancake and no flower. That was not by accident. He apologized to Huda for it, but that was not by accident. You didn't reciprocate, okay? And he was kind of just there. But they're both now at the point. This is Shelly and Chris talking. Well, this is Shelly talking. And she says, you know, we're both at the point where we're growing in our connection. And Chris says that everything is good. There's no hard feelings between them. And he wishes Shelly the best. Chris tells us that he's happy for the closure. And at least they can be friends and they hug. She tells him that he's a great person. Honestly, this whole conversation definitely had a tone of regret. A whole lot of regret. It was giving, damn, I wish I did more on Shelly's side. And it was giving, girl, damn, why didn't you do more? Because you were my number one on Chris's side. I'm happy that they got the closure and had the conversation, but it still seemed a little like, damn, you get what I'm saying? There was regret all up and through there. So next, Pepe is with Iris on the dock telling her that he picked her for the challenge because she makes him feel comfortable. And Iris tells him that she's only had 3 boyfriends over the course of 10 years. She doesn't really date and she's been loyal in all of her relationships. Iris tells us that she never really thought that she would explore with Pepe. So this is a pleasant surprise to her. And you know, Pepe is already in love, child. He's already in love with her. And we see Nick telling Sierra that he feels kind of weird about telling Pepe to shoot his shot with Iris because TJ just left 2 hours ago. Well, that's Love Island. Everyone is scrambling. All right. So next we see Amaya and Brian. They're in the speakeasy. They're getting to know each other more. And he asks her what her love language is. And she says it's physical touch, but in a good way. But in a good way, though. And Brian says, it's okay. You don't have to do any of that. I didn't think anything of it. Like I told you, I don't want you to change anything about yourself. Just be you, right? And Amaya says, oh, thank you. That's so refreshing. And Brian says, yeah, don't let what those people say to you stress you out and have you changing things about yourself, because someone like me, I like that type of shit. I like all of that. And I said, ooh, bye, Zach. Bye, Zach. Now listen, we know that everyone is here playing a game. Everyone is going to be scrambling because we're getting closer to the end. But like I said before, as far as Amaya and Brian, I'm here for it. It may be a convenient time for the both of them, okay? But Brian standing up for Amaya before, knowing how America felt, makes everything feel a bit more genuine, definitely more genuine than what Zach is doing right now, okay? So Brian tells us that physically there's definitely chemistry there, and he says that he wants to move at Amaya's pace and not waste any time. Amaya says that she feels really warm and safe with Brian, and she feels like Brian is a real man who she doesn't have to be afraid to express her feelings with, and they're all laughing. Amaya is really giddy, really giddy, and Brian tells her that he wants to explore with her, and she's still laughing and blushing, and he's like, why are you laughing so much? She's like, I don't know. And after a short moment of silence, Brian says, come here. And I'm happy that I watched the scene over because it was really low. I didn't even hear him say it the first time, so it just looked like Amaya got up and kissed him. And I was like, damn, Amaya, not you initiating another kiss. But when I rewatched it, Brian said, come here. But he just said it in that low, sexy voice, so you didn't really hear it. So Amaya gets up, child, and they start going at it. They're making out. The kiss looked really good. Then Amaya straddles him. He's grabbing on her booty. They stop for a little bit. He compliments her, and then baby, they go back for seconds. They start making out some more, and I was just happy that Amaya finally did not have to initiate the first kiss like she's always had to do with Zach. Y'all know that that's been pissing me off for some time, okay? And I said, look, if Clark and Taylor can't win, nah, I really don't want Taylor to win anything, honestly. So if Clark and Taylor can't win, all right, I won't be mad at Brian and Amaya. Like, who else is there? I don't really feel Shelly and Ace for the win. I highly doubt that America would let them win at all. So it's looking like Brian and Amaya are going to be the winning couple this season. We'll see what happens. Well, Huda and Chris too, because you know Huda got her people. So Huda and Chris might win too. So right now it seems like that's who it's between. Brian and Amaya and Huda and Chris. And like I said, Zach, you better start working on Alandria because it's not happening for you, okay? And I'm not mad at this connection at all. We have a recoupling on Sunday. Tell me all of your thoughts about this episode, all of your predictions. Do you feel like like Brian is being genuine? What do you feel about the Shelly and Chris conversation? What do you feel about, I don't know, what are your predictions for the recoupling? Tell me all your thoughts. This was a chill episode. I'm happy that things didn't get too testy, too serious. Don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe before you leave. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you're made aware every time I upload. And baby, I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye.
Roxiie says we're gonna